Today, we become legends.
This time on Titan Talk, they revealed the next two gods coming after Tsukuyomi, as well as some small teasers on the gods coming after that, and some important hotfixes and other announcements. So without further ado, let's jump into the recap. So first up, Double Worshippers is live now over the long weekend, and this will run until the start of Tuesday, so get grinding on those Ascension passes, and if you want to pick up the Ultimate Founders Edition to get all of them, or just pick up some diamonds, make sure to use creator code intersect at nexus.gg/smite store to support the channel at no extra cost to you. I appreciate you. There's also been a few important hotfixes since the last show, with Yorm's 1 having its range slightly increased to match Smite 1. This was ever so slightly shorter than intended. They also fixed Golden Blade to properly apply at 40% damage instead of the full damage on Yorm's basic attacks. Giannis will now properly get the movement speed from going through portals, which he wasn't before. And finally, Huyi's 2 will now properly apply the mark instead of casting but whiffing at max range. Hindu also apologized for the weird issues that went on for about an hour or so on Thursday in the game where you couldn't buy items and your abilities were bound very weirdly. But moving on to what you probably all came here for, the next two god releases that will be coming after Tsukuyomi, who's being revealed on Wednesday and releases Tuesday the 9th. So firstly, directly after Tsukuyomi will be our next hunter for the release cycle, and that will be Xbalanque. He'll be fully revealed on Wednesday, September 18th, and releases Tuesday, September 23rd. We have a work in progress model for him as well that was shown on the stream, and he's looking great. This was one of Smite 1's older models, and it really shows with the side-by-side comparison. Obviously, there's a general texture and material quality upgrade that we can expect going into Smite 2, but he's also got slightly more realistic proportions and skin color, as well as some other minor model changes, with them calling out specifically that his cape has been adjusted fairly heavily. Of course, as it says on these images, this model is work in progress, and while it looks mostly done, there might be some further improvements or changes, as Xbalanque is still roughly 3 weeks out from his release window at the moment. In terms of gameplay changes, Kilgoon mentioned that they are currently debating the stun on his ultimate that existed in Smite 1 for a long time but was removed. They're unsure right now on if they want to bring it back, add something similar but not quite as powerful, or leave it as is. So definitely give your feedback to the team if you feel strongly one way or another on this. For me, I'd love the stun to come back personally. It can be powerful, but a good player who's paying attention and knows the matchup can negate it fairly easily. Kilgoon also said that Xbalanque will be purely strength scaling, which I think makes sense. He doesn't have too many magical elements outside of maybe his ultimate, and we have had a lot of hybrid scaling hunters lately. Clumsy, the lead designer on Xbalanque, also said that his main +1 will be related to his poison and its synergies with the rest of his kit. In Smite 1, this already exists on the 3, so maybe we'll get some kind of synergy with his bowlers and or his ultimate on poison targets from his 2. Kilgoon also mentioned that his bowlers have been surprisingly hard to implement, as they actually have a homing property where the bowlers will branch at a slightly different angle to home in on enemy gods if they identify a hittable target when they branch, which I had no idea that even existed, so that's pretty crazy. Next up though, and coming in the patch after Xbalanque, we will have our warrior/solo laner for this patch cycle, and that will be Osiris. His reveal will be on October 1st, and he releases October 7th. We also have a model for Osiris, but this one is even more work in progress, as he is over a month out from release at this point. It's still looking like a solid glow up for his Smite 2 release though, with general quality upgrades, as well as a similarly more realistic skin tone than he had in Smite 1. That's most of it for Osiris by the looks of it. There doesn't seem to be any major model changes, just some tweaks to parts of his armor and upgraded textures. But of course, as I mentioned, this model will likely improve by the time he releases, as he's still a ways out right now. In terms of gameplay for Osiris, Pond is the designer for him, and he said that he'll be getting a way to stay in his full spirit form for longer if you're playing well, so maybe some kind of mechanic or minigame that lets you extend the full spirit form's duration. Kilgoon also mentioned that Osiris will have some protection scaling, which is interesting. This is something present on a lot of tanks from the early days of Smite 2, but they have since leaned away from it, so this could be interesting to see what exactly is going to be scaled with his protections. Will it be damage, CC durations, or whatever? And finally, they are currently developing an aspect for Osiris, but all Kilgoon said was that it will flip the script on his passive, which sounds like maybe it will tear pieces out of enemies instead with his abilities, and maybe they're debuffed when they have all the pieces ripped away. Unsure on this one really, but it sounds interesting. And finally for gods, Kilgoon did give a small teaser for the next god after Osiris by saying that it will be a goddess. This is something they've been pushing for a little bit this year, as the releases have generally been quite male dominated, which makes sense in general given the split in Smite 1 is 68% male, 32% female. But there had been a large run of male only gods for the most part, so they said there will be quite a few goddesses coming for the rest of the year, and this next one after Osiris will be female. If they are following the same schedule of releasing one god for each role every 5 releases, then this female release will be a mage. This isn't confirmed, and they do sometimes sometimes switch up the order of things a tiny bit. For example, this cycle we have Wukong as a warrior followed by Hui as a hunter, but in this next cycle that is reversed as we have Xbalanque as a hunter followed by Osiris as a warrior. So don't take this as gospel, but I would say it's fairly likely that this next goddess will be a mage, as that will be 5 releases out from Yanis's release. Of the remaining female mages that aren't already in Smite 2, that leaves Baba Yaga, Changa, Discordia, Iset, Freya, Hel, Hera, Ishel, Morgan Le Fay, Nox, Persephone, Tiamat, and possibly Maman Brigitte, though I would expect she would take a jungler/assassin spot on the calendar and not the mage/mid laner spot, so probably not her. That's a lot of potential options, as mages are the largest class and also the most female-dominated class, but yeah, if they follow the same schedule they have been doing, one of these gods listed here will be coming after Osiris. However, Kilgun did also mention that they generally classify non-humanoid gods as monsters and not as male or female. Not sure if that strictly excludes Tiamat from this list or if they will consider her a female as well, but honestly I think Tiamat is unlikely anyway for other reasons. This potential mage release will be on October 21st, by the way. As for the rest of the year, we can probably expect 3 more gods after this mage release: November 4th, November 18th, and December 2nd. December 16th could happen, but it's very close to Christmas and the team usually takes a break around that time, so this is very much a maybe, and then December 30th we can assume is definitely not happening. If they follow the same cycle of role releases, these final 3 gods after the unannounced female will be a support, jungler, and ADC, with presumably minimum 1 of these being female, probably 2, and possibly even 3. If you're curious what that might entail, here's the current list of female supports left to port. Yeah, pretty small, and it's also possible Artio will be considered a monster due to her bear form, so if anything, I would expect the next support to be the male if there's going to be one. For female junglers coming after that, we have these options. Arachne is probably considered a monster and not a female though, as she is non-humanoid, so I'm not sure what that means for her. And for the potential female ADC, we have these options. All of these will be considered humanoid, I assume. But yeah, take all of this as speculation with a massive grain of salt. Just thought it was worth presenting the potential options should these releases happen in the same order as last time and be female. Kilgun did also mention later in the show that they try to follow the same cycle of releases, but it doesn't always make sense to follow it exactly in terms of workload for the team, as well as just keeping things interesting so people don't know exactly what role is coming when. Kilgun also mentioned that at some point they are going to have to start shipping multiple mages in a single role cycle just because the mage class is twice as big as the others, though I imagine they could get away with that for a little while by releasing non-traditional mages, such as filling an ADC release slot with Ola Run Freya or Kronos, or filling a jungler release slot with Maman Brigitte or Aokwang, etc. But yeah, at some point they will have to start releasing multiple mages in a single role cycle just because of how many there are. But that's everything you need to know about the next upcoming gods for Smite 2. To recap, Tsukuyomi reveal on Wednesday next week, releasing Tuesday the 9th. Xbalanque comes after that on September 23rd. Osiris comes after that on October 7th. Then an unnamed female release that's likely but not certain to be a mage, and they will be coming October 21st. Then most likely 3 more gods after that to round out the year, with probably at least 1 more female, probably 2 more among these. Let me know your thoughts on these upcoming gods down below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to catch my update videos when these gods are revealed, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.